Welcome to Third Shot Podcast, where we share a love for the game and bring the pickleball community together. You can find us on our website at thirdshotpodcast.com. We have blogs, links, episodes, all of the things on our website, so go check us out. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Third Shot Podcast, as well as on X at Third Shot Pod. You could even watch us now on YouTube. So head over to YouTube, search up Third Shot Podcast, and we'll be there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I noticed I went to me when you said the whole X thing because I still haven't changed the thing, and I wanted to highlight that. I still haven't changed it. So sorry.
I thought you were like Xing yourself out of the open or something.
You know what? That's what I'll do. In post, I'll just put a giant X over me just in protest from Elon.
Well, I've been looking forward to this all day.
Me too.
You got a big pour there. All right.
Here's the big pour. So cheers.
Oh, look at that.
Cheers.
There we go.
First shot. Should we just call that the serve? First shot?
Hey, there you go.
It technically is.
Right.
Right. Well, how have you guys been?
I feel like the news is getting to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean,
I think I know what you're referring to.
Yeah. I mean, Chandler. Come on.
Chandler Bing.
Oh,
Right.
geez.
Were you two big Friends fans?
I've watched every episode probably 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, I love the show Friends. It's like one of my all-time favorites. It's just so funny. And then, Matthew Perry playing one of the best characters on the show.
What don't you think he was the best character? I don't know. That's just my own opinion. I like Chandler.
Totally the best character. I mean, it's that good mix of he's funny, he's going to say something funny, but you also you care about him so much and all that he went through. I mean, like for half the series or more than half the series, it felt like he couldn't even, get a date. And you felt that whereas Ross was dating all these and marrying all these different people. And, it's like, so it's like, there's, I don't know. It was just such a well-written character. And I know a lot of that, was him playing off of, the way that he delivered the lines and the way that he, they made it for him as they went on. So it's just, it's sad to see him. And I mean, it wasn't on that long ago, and now we've lost 2 people from the show. Gunther has passed away too.
Right.
So it's sad. It's sad to hear that.
Yeah. It is sad.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a little more in the news for us because he was playing pickleball earlier that day, right? So it even brings it even home more.
Yeah, exactly.
That connection and after he passed, I did a little more research and I found out how much he loved the game of pickleball.
Yeah.
Like it was a big part of his life. And for a lot of people that don't know kind of Matthew Perry's story is he dealt with a lot of addictions, and pickleball was really his treatment. I mean, it helped him kind of stay away. I was reading an article with his pickleball coach, Matt Manassi. Hopefully I'm saying your name right, Matt. And Matt was saying how important pickleball was in his life and part of his recovery. It kind of kept him on schedule and it kept him kind of on the right path. And I hear that and I just I'm amazed of how many people pickleball is impacting for not just exercise, right? Not just for the social side, but it really helps them with their mental health or helping them recover for addictions. I mean, pickleball is helping people in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And I think in just the conversations that we've been able to have with people and who we've met within the pickleball community, they share their stories with us and they also can attest to how much pickleball has not only helped them physically, but also mentally. If for work, we're reading this book called Play, and it's a whole research book that's based on the reasons why playing is so beneficial. And it doesn't mention pickleball specifically, but it does say that people who are more involved in sports and have times in their life where they are experiencing times of play, that it benefits their overall health because they have that social aspect, they have the physical aspect, and it allows their mind to get to a point of just kind of like this, like a bliss or a happiness, and it's important to be able to experience that as adults.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it you've got the heart benefits and all of like you're getting
Mhm.
exercise, and it also helps with like even like joints, right? Like you're moving your joints a little bit more and all that. So you've got the physical side and yeah, the mental health side. I mean, I think the social connections, as you mentioned, and just like when I'm playing, I'm smiling, I'm
Yeah.
chatting with people, I'm laughing, and definitely the person playing me is laughing. So there's just like that. I don't know. It just it boosts your mood and your attitude, and it's just a
Well,
good feeling.
there's so many studies out there that says stress, shortens your life.
Mhm.
Right.
And the more you can eliminate stress or deal with your stress, probably the longer you're gonna live, the happier you're gonna be, the healthier you're gonna be because stress impacts, the body in a lot of different ways. It
Yeah.
has physical effects on people. So it feels like, oh, I'm feeling lousy, I got headaches, or, your body aches, all of it could be a result of stress. And then if you can eliminate stress, which pickleball does for so many different people, me included, I love playing pickleball because when I'm playing, like you said, Russ, I'm smiling, I'm laughing, I'm having a great time, whether I'm winning or losing. It's just a joy to be out there playing the game and doing it with people that I become
Yeah.
friends with. All of that has to be positive, on emotional and physical level.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
don't even have to be like a huge competitive player or somebody who even
Yeah.
likes the
Yeah.
competitive aspect of a sport to enjoy it and to be able to
Right.
get those benefits.
Yeah. It's like the entry level is so low, you know? I mean, except for some of the paddles, like those can set you back. But the entry level of just getting out there and playing is so low, you know? It's like I I mentioned in earlier episodes, it's like my wife and I just went out playing. She'd never played before, and we just played. It's like she just jumps out there and just does it because it's so
Right.
easy to pick up. And like there's not a lot of sports like that. So like anybody could just get out there and just do it and get started, and then you're having fun. So it's cool. And
Yeah.
it's nice to see that it is helping people, and it's good to hear that it was helping him.
It
Uh,
was, I've read multiple articles saying how much he play. I mean, he was playing every day, sometimes twice a day,
uh,
because of how much he enjoyed it and what it was doing for him in his life. And I think that's just wonderful. I love hearing that. And it's
yeah.
okay. Here's what I don't like about the spin people are doing on the articles right now. They go, "Oh, after he played pickleball for 2 hours, he passed later that afternoon." At the time that we're recording this, there's no correlation to him playing pickleball and him passing. It's more about how much the sport really, added to his life,
Right.
and helped him in his recovery because, addictions are tough. I mean, it's an addiction for a reason. It's tough to stop. And when you can find something that will help you with that addiction and help you break that cycle, and pickleball's doing that for people, that is wonderful. That is
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, that
Yeah.
that's what I love about the sport because it's helping people on so many different levels. We get into the tournaments and they're fun and all that. We get into the apparel, we get into the paddles, but what it's doing for people's lives, now we're really talking about the benefits of pickleball.
Right.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. We're very fortunate, I think, to have stumbled upon this sport and to see it grow and develop to what it is. And like you said, the amount of lives that it's impacting now is just incredible.
It is incredible, and I gotta thank you, Bridgie, for getting me into this sport. It's made a tremendous positive difference in my life, truly.
Yay. Well, I'm very fortunate, like I said, to have both of you now involved in my pickleball journey. So let's see what's next.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There, and see, Bridgie, like the segues, right? Like you're killing them now. What's next?
Right?
Hey, Greg, what's next?
Hey, we have Mark Milner, who, in the past episodes, we've had a number of contacts over at the Oklahoma City Punishers. We've had Alex Simon, a player for them. We've had Carol Rolls, who's one of the owners of the OKC Punishers. And now we have Mark Milner, who's one of the players and the general manager for the
No,
OKC Punishers. So, he's
very
he's
cool.
doing a little double duty. So I can't wait to kind of pick his brain and what that's like. So
Oh
come on
yeah.
back and we'll have Mark Milner. Thanks a lot for hanging in there with us during the break. As always, we really appreciate all your support on our social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook at Third Shot Podcast, on X at Third Shot Pod, and on YouTube. Please check out our videos again at Third Shot Podcast. Before the break, I mentioned we are extremely excited to have Mark Milner. He is the part owner, general manager, player. I mean, what don't you do for the Oklahoma City Punishers? I mean, my goodness. I mean, what are you doing? You clean the paddles? What
Watch the jerseys.
washing the jerseys? Anyway, welcome, Mark. We are so excited to have you on the show with us.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the invite and look forward to the time I get to spend with you guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks so much. And we have a big toast to make because this is our 50th episode. And
No
Mark, you
kidding?
get to be our guest.
Yeah,
Wow.
Thank you
that's
That's
so
right.
much.
yes. Here's to 50
Cheers to
and
you
many
and the
more.
number 50. Which I guess is appropriate because 50 is kind of the deadline to be considered a senior pro.
That's right. Yeah, and there's some terminology going on. Some organizations like APP and others are wanting to rename it to the Champion Pro.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm still just kind of old school and still stuck on calling it Senior Pro. But it is the requirement to be 50 or turning 50 in that calendar year. And so it really is something that's pretty cool because it's, life after 50 is pretty amazing, let me tell you. So,
That's good to hear.
oh,
And
yeah.
as Uncle was saying, you are very deeply involved with pickleball as well as the OKC Punisher. So if you could share with us, how did you even start playing pickleball?
Yeah, 7, 8 years ago, I guess it's closer to 8 years ago. There's this guy you might have heard of before. His name's Tyson McGuffin. Well, I have a
Oh,
little
that guy.
hit. Yeah, that guy. So he he well, I'll back up because when he was 10 years old, he took some tennis lessons from me, and I was his first teaching pro. And I actually took him to a tennis tournament, and he grew up about an hour's drive away from where I've had my athletic club, and so I've stayed in touch through the years with him, and he moved back as a teaching pro in South Central Washington, in Yakima, Washington, and where he started playing pickleball. So I called him up to play in a USTA 40 plus division tournament, and I said, "Hey, coming into town," and he put me up, and the whole time I'm playing that weekend there, all he could do is talk about pickleball. And I was there to compete in the tennis tournament, and honestly, this I knew it was kind of starting then, but that was well before what it's been since post pandemic. So he was the one that kind of bugged me, and honestly, how I really gave an eye to it, because I just built my dream of covering 2 tennis courts with a fabric structure so I could have indoor. And I'm in a town about 5,000 people in a rural town in eastern Washington. So I got my dream after 20 years and put this indoor tennis center in at my club, and no one's playing tennis as much as what we need to after making the investment.
Yeah.
So, and that was shortly after I visited Tyson. And so out of, spite, I said, fine, I'll paint some lines in there and we'll play some pickleball once we're not doing tennis, kind of thing,
Uh-huh.
and then you put a paddle in my hand, and honestly, it was about a week later, I called Tyson. I said, "Hey, when's your next tournament?" So I just kind of was wired that way. I'm like, well, let me go play a tournament, because as we know, it doesn't take long to become an addict.
Yeah.
And then
Exactly.
when you start playing, start playing tournaments, the whole social factor of it is something cool. And I'm sure we'll share some more stories. But as I started playing more and more, it's honestly the people and the competitors of this sport that keeps you wanting to keep playing more. And that was a little different from the side of playing competitive tennis. It just didn't get that, where um, these guys are really telling me, even this last weekend, one of the senior pros was seeing a little hiccup in my game and my dinks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give a shout out to Rich Lopez there in Texas. And he was like, "Hey, I'm kind of seeing you doing this, Mark." And that's awesome. I never got that in tennis, and competitive guys that were actually really wanting to,
Help
take
you,
some.
huh?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so that's kind of how I got started. And then after COVID, they kind of Washington State shut down athletic clubs and gyms,
Mm.
and I was athletic director at a high school, and that job got shut down. So I had a buddy that had his own plane, so we flew to states where they were still holding pickleball tournaments, and
No
uh,
kidding?
How
Like,
yeah.
you
cool.
were just traveling around the country playing pickleball tournaments with on
Well,
a
it was
private plane?
more on the West Coast, Arizona. Um, we went to Nevada. They had some tournaments, So yeah, so you
I
can.
hope this plane has 4 seats so you guys can come pick Bridgie and I up, and we can kinda
Right?
join you. You travel around. That's
What a
awesome.
time. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I taught him and his wife some, and we just yeah, it was pretty cool. And he gave me a shout out after my last tournament, and it's honestly, you can play pickleball with how many good players are out there are in this country in pickleball that we just don't know of, because they're just phenomenal, and they just play rec in their own backyard or their own little club,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
don't travel and do tournaments. I guarantee you, there's way more senior pro players out there, but they just haven't done the travel thing yet. Um, so getting that opportunity, getting a little buzz, I did. My first tournament out of the state was the playing at Darling Center there in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
at the PPA event, and Tyson didn't know I was there, so I'm playing, and I just entered myself in the senior pro singles too. But I played amateur doubles, and he comes up. He was so jacked that I was there, and he's getting the second and final call for him to play his match. But he was just stoked, and he was watching me, and he gave me some coach. He's watching the old man pickleball, so it was great. So, it's that kind of bond that we have with each other, and is not only competitors, but every tournament I'm just increasing my contact list. And if you don't have a PB after your name, you're probably not getting a lot of texts from me. But how many contacts do I have on our phone that says such and such PB? It's
Yeah.
just
So
crazy.
I'm Uncle Greg PB, in your,
That's right.
phone contact. I love it. I love it. I love you are the second person that Tyson has gotten that has converted from tennis over to pickleball. So we actually interviewed Kevin Beeson,
Oh
and
yeah.
do you know Kevin?
Yes, I sure do. We actually played a tournament against each other, and I was shortly after Kevin. So, I've played some tennis with Kevin. So, sure, I know Kevin very well.
Yeah, Kevin was a big time tennis player, right? He
Yep,
had his pro shop, right? He had the whole thing, and he was kind of like you, was like into tennis, right? He wasn't a pickleball guy
right.
until Tyson brought him up and started introducing him to pickleball, and then that's how he got the passion. And like you, he hasn't
Yeah,
let it go since. I mean, now he's teaching for Engage, and he's
right.
traveling around the country. He's doing fantastic. He's
Yeah, yeah.
big time coach.
Yep, he is. Yep, and honestly, and there's so many others that Tyson has done that with. And the cool thing about Tyson is he remembers he remembers the people who helped get him there in the tennis world when he was a junior tennis player, and then college, and then as a profession there for a little while. And and that's what's cool, is that, you know, the fame and fortune hasn't changed him. You know, he's the same guy off the court as he is on the court. You know, he's just, so it's been cool. And honestly, I think that helped jumpstart my pickleball career a little bit, because I was having some success in singles, but I didn't have a soft game to win at 3-0. So it was a classic banger coming into pickleball. So the journey's been real, let me tell you, in doubles. But to get that kind of jump start, and then I've jumped on to Tyson's, his tennis, I'm sorry, his pickleball camps, and I'm a coach for his. That's where I travel the country teaching with TM camps, and then I've been able to develop my own marketing as well. So, but yes, honestly, if it wasn't for Tyson, I don't know if I would have really been as gung ho to start as I did, because sometimes I'm stubborn in my old ways. So he really opened my eyes about pickleball, because I was like, I looked, kind of was that guy that kind of looked at it and say,
Well, if Tyson can't get you excited about pickleball, nobody can. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I was just gonna
love
wow.
his
say yes.
passion, his excitement, his energy. I mean, there's nobody like him. I mean, he is one of the most exciting people in professional sports, any sport. I mean, he
Yeah,
is that guy.
yeah,
Right, and it's kind of heartwarming to hear that it extends beyond him in his own matches. Like, he's taking this energy and converting all of these tennis players into pickleball players now, and I love it.
Yeah.
yeah, and he continues to. That's why all these companies and all these sponsors are going to him, because he's just so dynamic, and yeah, and he's just so good for the sport, So
Yeah.
he goes, and when he goes up to the PPA events, he oftentimes does a free kids clinic, and and that I've heard parents bring their kids, and they're learning. Wow, I didn't know that, and they're getting all this free advice with the kids doing the pickleball. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's a
Well,
he's a
well,
true
Bridgie and
giver.
I, yeah, Bridgie and I were just at the PPA event in Las Vegas,
Okay,
and Tyson always had the biggest crowd watching him. Whether he was on the main court or he was on one of the other courts, he always had the most people watching him than any other pro.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and and yeah, and I can tell you all the reasons why he's done that, but yeah, he's a good guy, and I'm forever grateful. I just texted him. He reached out to me last night and congratulated me, and I just said I'm forever grateful, Tyson, for getting me into the sport. So now I'm jumping in and trying to make the most of it with myself. And when I had my own business for 27 years and sold it, and now it given me the opportunity to find out what's next. What's next opportunity. So I have a wife, and I have two girls that still live at home. So still not quite sure, what's in store, but I've been given the grace to kind of pursue the dream right now. So I'm jumping on it.
That's amazing. So, I'm curious how you go from being a tennis professional to having Tyson convert you into a pickleball player. At what point did you join the OKC Punishers and decide, okay, now is my time. I'm going to become a senior pro?
Okay, so you had to be kind of a senior pro before, the MPL and Oklahoma City Punishers were, this is the first year. So this inaugural season that we just finished earlier this month. And so the draft was in March or April this year. And so we had 6 teams and 6 owners, and Carol Rouse was our owner, and her husband, and Doug, and they drafted me, and Carol I'm a little prejudiced, but she's one of the best owners, and she she was the last team in the league, and we're starting. The draft was in April, and by the end of May, we have our first team match. And so she had a lot to do going on. So, and I didn't know her, I'm from Washington State and she's from Oklahoma. And so we connected a few times and I said, hey, Carol, how about we do it like a team bonding? Why don't we, or maybe do a pro-am or a little clinic that us pros can do. And then we can get some practice time together and do it the week before our first competition. And she just loved that idea. And we were just going back and forth. And eventually she said, hey, would you consider being GM? And I'm like, I've never been GM of a team, and she's never been owner of a team before. So, and this is the first year of the league. So this is first for everybody. And I kind of told myself, Kyle McKenzie is another good friend of mine that works very much with Tyson. And he had this little saying, he says, I try not to say no to any pickleball opportunities. So even
I
though
like that.
this is not in my wheelhouse, never been a GM of a professional team. I was like, hey, I'm willing to go for it. And so, it's trying to figure out roles and different things that we can do. It's, it was first off, when you have Jaime Onsens and Beth Bellany on, as your first two draft picks,
Yeah.
you can't go wrong much
You're in
after
good
that.
shape. You're in
Yes.
good shape.
So,
And actually, I think one of your last draft picks, Alex Simon, has been on our show a couple of times as well, and
yes,
he couldn't speak enough about the experience that he's had with the
Right.
OKC Punishers. I mean, he loved the whole experience he's had with you guys.
yes, and he, what an athlete, and I love hearing his story and his history. And we had 9 men and 9 women drafted in this on this team, and all across the country. And Alex's story has been phenomenal. What he's done within a year has been phenomenal. So, yeah, so. That's kind of how it all got started with OKC. Was I was drafted, and then she asked me to be GM, and kind of my role this year was mostly handling the lineups and attending the Zoom calls, and uh, being part of the working with the owners for the first being the first season. And honestly, it was we're making rules as we go, kind of figuring out this first year. And it was super successful. The co-founders, Beth Bellany and Rick Witzkin and Michael Chin, just hit it out of the park. We were kind of getting shunned a little bit with the other organizations, and so this really birthed the MPL and making the team setting, and it's given us a chance of reliving college tennis or high school tennis days of those, or high school sports for a lot of pickleball players to be on a team again. And they just hit out of the park, getting us some incredible venues of Chicken and Pickle, and to get us the opportunities to play as a team, and given lifelong memories. Honestly, it's sad that the season's over with, because we're probably we're not going to be all together again as a team. We had amazing success. We were on one side of the spectrum. We were in first place and going, and then when your number one women's player in the world, Beth Bellany, injures herself on the court, and she's done for the season, it just, we couldn't recover, and so. But we saw the whole spectrum of all the cool things, and now everywhere I go, I'm just hearing more and more things about MPL. People are calling me about the MPL, and so I'm super excited for year 2, as well as Carol and Doug being owners. We're gonna the goal is, I think, trying to get another 6 teams, so there'll be 12 teams in the league for next year, and which means we'll have to try to find bigger venues for us, because we have more teams. Already, if you're following the MPL, they've had some big signings. They've got Dave Weinbach and Sherry Corder, who Dave Furman, who didn't play this year, and they're signed on to play next year. And our big names of who've been playing this year are coming back as well. So we've got the players. We have just a year under our belt, and so we got some exciting things going on.
That's excellent. I'm wondering though, what do you do in the meantime now that it's off season in order to prepare yourself as well as maybe some other players for next season?
Well, I think the hardest thing is with, when you're thinking about drafting a team, and the draft's going to become essential. And Carol, who just didn't have, she had some help, but for me as now as part owner of the OKC Punishers now, and also a player, it's important that I continue to keep playing the tournaments, and I feel who's out there, who's up and comers, who's really doing well, who didn't get drafted. There's many good players. I think a lot of my friends, especially on the West Coast, because no teams were out here on the West Coast, we're just kind of sitting on the sidelines and watching. And so now they've seen it, and now they want in. So now it's trying to jockey them into the draft, and so it's funny. We had on our team, and Alex could tell you this. Alex was incredibly successful at singles. We had Lance Cowart, another guy who played professional tennis, and myself. We're a bunch of singles guys, and we're trying to figure out the doubles game. And it was a big adjustment, especially for Alex, because he's such a physical stud on the court,
Yeah.
But he had, as we found out, we get to play this game of doubles, and that's all there is. There's no singles in the NPL. There's not even a dream breaker that uses singles. It's all doubles. So we really had to learn and get better at the game of doubles. But when we have some incredible players like Beth and Jaime, they just were incredible. Incredible teammates, and not only just some of the best pickleball players in the world, they were just so invested with the whole team. And I guess that's what makes us different than the regular tournaments that I was just at. You don't have. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mark. I interrupted you, but I apologize. But I had a question about the draft because, now I have 2 questions about the draft. I have 3 questions about the draft. I'm going to load it on you because everything is just rolling through my head as I hear you talk, Mark. I'm like thinking about this. This is my sickness, right? I'm thinking of like I'm going to be a team owner here, so I'm thinking about all these different strategies. Whew. Anyway, so the first question is: since you're a part owner, obviously you're going to be on the OKC Punishers. So does that mean you're the first draft pick? Does that mean you're the last draft pick? Because obviously draft goes in order. I mean, so I don't know how that works, right? So that's my first question.
Yeah.
Second question is, now that you kind of had the experience where you had a lot of singles players, and trying to get them better at doubles to be competing because it's all doubles, does that affect how you draft people in year 2, looking at who has more experience being a doubles player? Right. So those 2 questions, I'll start there because I'll let you go on
Because
those
I'll
2.
forget. I asked a 50-year-old 3 questions.
So I'll let you go with
you're
those
in
2.
trouble. So okay. Yeah. So So as far as me being able to draft, and obviously I'm working that out with but there was other owners. The Denver owner also played, so he drafted himself. So I would have to draft myself. I'm not going to draft myself one, even close, because and we're still trying to figure out.
Well, what happens if somebody drafts you before you draft yourself? What is that possible?
Yeah, it could be, but where do you think my heart is?
Okay.
If Naples picks me up and they go, it's like I have no, they know I'm invested in Oklahoma City. So probably be something like, hey, Mark, it's time you draft yourself kind of conversation, So let's, or they could draft me and trade me for someone maybe I drafted that they really wanted. So, I just gave that one away, but so you could, maybe we edit this part right there, and so don't give them any ideas. But no, I think it is a little tricky. But you got the MLP that has an owner that plays, and I'm losing his name off the top. Reitemeyer, Rick.
I don't
Um,
know.
oh no, that's the other owner. But there's an MLP player that is an owner and plays. So you can draft yourself. So it's not this is not something new.
Okay.
And then your second question about, yep, see, I
Looking
paid
at
attention.
doubles, maybe
Yeah,
weighting your decisions more on who has experience in succeeding in doubles versus singles.
yeah. So you can take betting on me, Lance, and Alex is really not known for our doubles, but more of our singles play. We got better as the season went along,
Yeah.
and when we're athletic and fly around the court and have that's some good things to go. And the season in the way it was for the MPL season 1 here was all based on the end in October.
Mhm.
So so it's not a bad route of just get the athlete in and then hey we'll teach you how to play. But I think as it gets more and more competitive and the game of doubles is how it's played, you got to be able to play some doubles and you got to be committed to doubles. So I think that's and that's honestly this tournament I just played this weekend in Houston here. My last time I played singles was in May before the MPL. So I've solely been working on my doubles game, only playing. If I played any tournaments outside of the MPL, I just was playing doubles. So, and I tell my students this, and I don't know where you guys are at, but I think doubles helps their singles, and singles helps their doubles. So, if you're a good singles player, you can really attack it do the drive drop combo, and if you don't really ever develop a drive, then you're missing out on a tool. If you're facing a big headwind and you just normally always drop your thirds, nice. That's a good name for a podcast or something. But you should be able to have many tools in your tool belt to be able to play. So it's not necessary to be playing singles. Dave Weinbach doesn't really play any singles. Most of the guys who are going to be first rounders don't play singles.
Yeah.
So, and I'm finding out that it's a grind on the body, and singles is not something you can keep doing unless you're Alex Simon, who just keeps rocking it. And so,
Yeah, and he's just doing triathlons. So I mean, nothing
Right,
would
running
break
around in
him
the
down.
Vegas heat like it's no problem.
right,
Like he
they're
looks for
playing.
the
They're
heat
not,
in Vegas to practice it. That's what I mean. That's how crazy he is, man. He's amazing. He's amazing.
yeah, yeah, and there's so many guys like that and gals out there that are getting into the sport. I mean, this is my little window, and this is kind of what I've told my wife. And it's like this window is closing. I just turned 54, um, and I know I've worked hard on my health, and but as many ex-professional athletes of different sports, I mean, there's an ex NHL guy that's 50 that's going to turn out from the MPL this year, and you're just hearing more and more stories like that. It's just not former tennis pros. It's all sorts of different athletes that are in their 50s going, I love to compete, and now we got this second chance again. And
Yeah,
so,
very cool.
Yeah, uncle, so when are you trying out?
Well, Mark, I was thinking about this. Mark was saying he's 54 and his window's closing. I think my window might be shut. I'm a little older than Mark, so I I don't know.
you don't look it, buddy. I didn't have you
Well,
beat me,
I'm
so
trying. I'm trying.
good for you.
I don't
There's
know,
three
Bridgie. You,
different.
you
Hey,
you
speaking
played
of
with
which,
me. I don't think I'm ready for these guys.
hey, don't sell yourself short. And also, there's 3 combines this year with the MPL, and if you go to the website, you can see these dates coming up, and we're expecting. That's why we planned out 3 of these combines, different locations across the state, so people can showcase their talents and catch the eye of the other owners there. And
Okay.
so it's not just having to establish ranking and stuff. If you're listening to this podcast and you're going, hey, I think I have what it takes to be playing senior pro. And, I've watched Mark Milner on YouTube. And he doesn't have it. And
Yes, you
so,
do.
so I
Yes, you
think,
do. I mean,
so,
I've watched almost every match that the OKC Punishers have had this season.
no
So I am
kid.
very familiar with your game, and yes, you do have it.
Well,
Um,
I've
so,
had great partners. I've had wonderful partners.
well,
So,
hey, let's not sell your game short because you just came back from the APP Houston and you won gold in singles.
in
So
singles.
even
So,
so
and that
even
was
though you
on.
haven't played singles in a while, you still won gold.
Yeah, and it was it was just yesterday, and it was coming off. Friday was men's doubles that I was able to capture bronze with a teammate, Lance Coward, and then on Saturday got silver playing with Christy Domaraki out of Boston. She played on the Indy NPL team. So, and then yesterday getting gold. So I hit the whole, all the sides of the podium on all 3
Yeah.
days. So,
Congratulations. That's amazing.
thank,
Yeah, good for
thank,
you.
thank you. And it just is, you got to have a little luck in those things with good draws and good partners. And then, and especially in singles, um, it was 87 and high humidities there yesterday, and if you can kind of win on the top draw and they don't have to come fighting back through. Craig Bobo is a good friend of mine, and he had to play so many matches in the back draw, and by the time he got to me in the gold medal match, he was done. I mean, he was just physically done. So
See,
yeah,
that's what, Bridgie. We had to go in the back draw and we were just fighting too hard in the PPA. That's what
Yeah,
happened to us. Otherwise, right? We just got a bad draw. I like
that's
Mark's
yeah,
it.
philosophy
yeah.
on that.
See if we can work on your seating there. So.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
next time.
So here's my other idea. Here's my other question and idea.
Yeah.
Because now that you're a part owner, you get to, you have some say in this league, right? So here's my third thought. I think that when it comes to the draft, I do fantasy football and I'm in a keeper
Yeah.
league, right? So we
Yeah.
redraft every year, but you get to keep a couple of players that you had in your previous season. I think you guys should do that. That you're allowed to keep a couple of players and then redraft the rest of the team because you want to keep some camaraderie there. You want to keep some chemistry there.
It's especially as an owner, or you found your marquee player. Like for us, it's Jaime and Beth, and not sure what's all happening with the co-founders, and nothing's been decided, but I think all the owners are on board of like the idea of a keeper. Now it's across the board of how many keepers that we want. And let's put it this way, because you also mentioned that you want to, looking in buying one of those new 6 teams. So if you're the new owner coming in and all the players are taken, all the top players because it's a
Mm.
keeper,
Right. No, I
what
think like how many players are on a team? There's what?
well, we're shortening the teams. Instead of drafting 9 men and 9 women, we're looking at 7 men and 7 women. So we'll have
So
3 pods.
14.
So
So I
3
think
pods instead of 4.
yeah, I would think if there's 14 players, I would think 6 keepers sounds right to me.
No, there's 3 teams. Six men, 6 women will start, and you'll have a sub. So
Mm.
Okay, then
so
four
and but
four
but
keepers.
if you even take 4, that is
2
taking
and
a
2.
lot of players, and you're a new owner coming in, and there's 6 times 4. I mean, there's 24 players already taken by this keeper that you
Mhm.
can't draft. I see
Put
both
you at a
sides.
big disadvantage, huh?
Yeah. So, um, so the owners, I'm sorry, the co-founders have yet to say what they're doing. So that will be coming out. I'm sure they're going to be letting us owners know and the rest of if there is keepers. So, So stay tuned. We'll have to
I
do an
Yes.
will.
episode
I can't
2.
wait to hear the
We're
news.
we're
Sure.
super excited, and we'll definitely be following along, and hopefully you still end up on the OKC Punishers, right?
I It should happen. If not, there's gonna be some turmoil on another team, I can tell you. There might be a little drama on another team.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Well,
so
thank you so much for sharing everything that you did with us about your story and everything you're doing with OKC Punishers. But you also have your own instructor company or business. Can you share that with our listeners on where they can find more information?
yes, it's markmilnerpickleball.com. I Since selling my club now and teaching, traveling with doing Tyson's camps, I now can, and I also do that, but to fill in some other time. My wife says it's too early for me to retire, so I need to keep. And this doesn't seem like work to me because last week I was down and outside of Austin doing a camp there, and then head over to Houston for the tournament. So I can do those kind of things where I can run a camp. Um, Travel, especially if it lines up with some other tournament weekends, or if you happen to be in Washington State, and you can look on my website from different camps that I do. So that's an opportunity that I love doing. I love coaching the game. It's Since I was a tennis coach and teacher for so long, it just was natural that I started right away with pickleball. And then I'm not going to shy away from it, but I've learned the best pickleball programming through Tyson McGuffin and Kyle McKenzie. They're phenomenal at what the product they put out. So, and I'll put my little twist on it, and you get a little maybe a little interest from the 50 plus kind of sides because not everyone can be 25, 30 years old and hit these kind of shots. So I get, throw my little twist in there. So I that's what I do. And so when I get back home, I get time to recover and be with the family, and then try to schedule another camp or tournament. So it's just really I'm on cloud 9 right now, just with opportunities, and I've told myself don't say no to opportunities. So when this um, great podcast come to me and offer a chance to talk about pickleball, I haven't done very many of these things, so why not? So, and thank you for letting me kind of
Oh,
share my story and about the MPL and about me being able to teach the game, the best game ever created. I mean, it's just this is what I love about this sport is that it's just not having to. If you didn't start when you're like 9 and 10, like tennis, can you become a professional? We're seeing people come in from different sports, um, even the highest level players that they don't come from tennis and they kind of hold their paddle with their fingers like a ping pong paddle,
uh-huh,
and
uh-huh.
they're playing pickleball like this, and it's just not how the tennis players do it, but that it works.
Yeah,
And I play against players that just have such an odd stroke, but it works in pickleball because that 7 foot line of the kitchen changes the whole game when you can just reset points and you can just uh, have that space where you can't attack. And so I love the sport because it just is such a great equalizer
yeah,
for different kinds of players. So you just can't go out and whoever, like in tennis, you can go out and serve 120 miles an hour, and you're never going to lose your serve. So to beat a player like that, that's hard.
yeah.
Um, in pickleball, you have all these great equalizers, and then you throw in some wind, and you got another equalizer. So
Yeah, Bridgie and I know the wind deal.
Oh, yeah.
The
It
first
gets rough
tournament we
out
ever
here.
played in was in 25-mile-an-hour winds, and it was like, that was
that's
the
what
equalizer.
and I really think that we're seeing pickleball, and the MPL did it this year. We made all our matches indoors. And I bet you it's going to become more and more indoor sport, especially for tournaments. Just because there's so many rain delays, and
Mm,
people want. And when you take away those elements, you get to see the purest, rallies and stuff, and it's nice. It was nice not having to play in the hot temperatures this year down south, and so we get a little spoiled in our 50 plus.
Well, thank you again, Mark, for joining us. It was really a pleasure having you on and kind of learning everything you're doing, both on the court and off the court. It's amazing. And before we let you go, I just wanted to make sure I was on your website, and you have a camp coming up on November 17th. Is that correct?
Yep, and it's sold out. It's over on the West Coast. So sometimes people just get me, and this was at the Lighthouse Resort. It's right on the Pacific Ocean, so people would stay and play kind of thing. And
Beautiful.
so yeah, so I'll be working on that schedule coming up as well. So.
Well, I
But
highly
thank you.
encourage our listeners to find the location and find one of the venues that's available, and then joining you. They'll learn a lot, and they'll experience the passion that you have for the game, which is really special.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you very much.
You
Yeah,
got
and
it.
before we completely say goodbye, we gotta
Oh,
take our 3rd shot, the best shot of
oh,
the night.
that's right. To Mark, to the
Cheers.
To
clinics, to the
Mark.
OKC Punishers, and to episode number 50.
All
Yes,
right. What a
cheers.
good one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What a way to close the show.
All
So,
right.
thank you everybody for listening at the third shot, where Bridgie and I will continue to share our pickleball journey. A real special thanks to Mark for joining us today. Check him out on Instagram at OMAK, that's OMAK, Mark Milner, and on his website, markmilnerpickleball.com. Check out his camps coming up. I'm sure there's going to be information about the OKC Punishers and everything he's doing out in the sport. And please support us by subscribing to our show on YouTube. We love the listeners. We love the feedback, all of our social media. That's what we live for, is to hear from you and to share our enjoyment for the game. So let's continue to share that enjoyment, and let's grow this pickleball community. See you next time on Third Shot Podcast.